All right, camera here. Hey everyone, welcome to the Watch DNA community. I am your host, Thomas. I am so excited and so humbled to have all these beautiful and amazing people around me. Thank you guys for coming here today.
Pleasure.
And and basically Watch DNA is all about sharing love and educating the community about watches and timepieces and mostly about the story behind. This is something that is very inspiring for me. So I just wanted to make sure, I don't know why, sorry, I apologize, but I want to make sure that I have the sound. Sorry, it's live and I am trying at the same time. Yeah, I'm good, perfect. I'm checking out my camera. Perfect, all right, good, you're good. If I hear myself in the phone, that means it works. Okay, perfect. So what I will do is I will just pass you the mic and just one by one, if you can introduce yourself, will be amazing. So feel free. Ladies first? Or no?
Ladies first.
Okay, ladies first.
Hi, my name is Ida. I work for Studio Underd0g, and it's an honor to be here. First time in Canada. It's been a lovely time so far. We were in Montreal yesterday with the Redbar crew. We had a blast. So we look forward to the next step of the journey here in Toronto.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here in Toronto.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Nabil. I'm just a watch enthusiast here to learn from all these brands today. I am an editor for a couple of publications like Hairspring and Chrono Chronicles, my own site. And just recently I've started to do things with Thomas with his site Watch DNA as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just, sorry, before you're cutting, so the whole idea of Watch DNA is really connecting people. So community brands with watch aficionados and people that don't really know about watches but want to get into it.
Great.
So that's the whole idea, right? Nabil is here with us.
Cool. Well, my name's Michael Pearson. Hello, everyone. I'm the brand director of Christopher Ward. I live in America, but it's great to be back in Canada. And actually, this is just like Studio Underd0g. It's our first ever time doing any events in Canada. So we can't wait for tonight. Really excited to meet a lot of the Redbar community here in Toronto. A big event, actually. And then, of course, we've got the Toronto Timepiece show. So I've been in the industry for way too long, but still love it. So hopefully we'll get to talk about that tonight.
Well, my name is Adam Karaniotis. I'm the founder of Redbar Group, which is the world's largest collectors collective, I guess I would call it. We do have a wonderful chapter here in Toronto, but I will echo what Edith said, that we had a great time in Montreal last night with the group down there. And for me personally, Toronto is one of my favorite cities. I've had the good fortune of being here before and doing some events with our group out here. And I'm just happy to be back. And I'm really excited for tonight. And I'm excited for the show.
We're all very excited for the show.
So my name's Nicholas. I'm the 4th managing director of the Fears Watch Company in Bristol, England. And I'm delighted to be in Canada because my family's company was originally founded in 1846. And for 130 years before it closed in the 70s, they were building watches in Bristol and shipping them around the world. So we know historically a lot of Fears watches ended up in Canada. So it's great to be back here. It's great to be here and showing the new watches, the new collections to the watch collectors in Toronto and Montreal last night.
Okay, beautiful. So again, one more time, welcome in Toronto. My very first question, and obviously I saw some of the pictures, was last night, Montreal. It looks like an amazing event. I was very sad to be there. I was like, oh, I should be there, but it's okay. How was Montreal?
Brilliant. I mean, yeah. I had to kind of readjust my head. I've not been into Montreal for about 15 years. And being as English as I am and living in Texas, I forgot there are other accents and other languages. So, and I do not speak French, so I had to apologize for that. But there was a huge appetite for Christopher Ward and all the brands that were there, because not too many people get to hold our watches in person in a big group like that. Yeah. So the questions were energetic, the enthusiasm was wonderful. And just to see people come up and say, thank you for coming. I mean, we were humbled to be there, and we were in a great bar. So we all had a few drinks, some good food, and we did what the watch industry should do, you just get together and celebrate.
I agree. And that's why we're here today. And was anybody of you the first time in Canada?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah,
okay.
First time in Canada. And it's crazy because Canada is actually one of our larger markets.
Okay.
And yet it's just, it's only recently I've been kind of venturing across the pond to North America. So, it was the right time to come here. But yeah, first time, absolutely loving it. But to echo Mike, Yeah, I was slightly surprised yesterday when suddenly arriving in Montreal and all the signs are in French. And I'm usually when I see French, I'm in Geneva. I go to Geneva several times a year.
Yeah.
And so I'm used to it. So it was very weird being in a very un-Genevan city, and yet hearing the French accents. But it was wonderful, very warm welcome.
Cool. And Ida, what about you?
Yes, for me as well. I'm European, so I'm a bit more used to accent around me.
Okay.
Myself, I have an accent, so it was great to discover something new, something different. Montreal is a pretty place to be, very energetic. The people yesterday showed so much love, and it was really, really lovely to be part of this big group of brands and community all together.
Okay. So I have a lot of different questions, but I think everybody wants to see. I call it the toys. So so I will have to. So yeah. So feel free, whoever wants to show first. What I do is
Start with a new one.
I set up a camera just here. So yeah, beautiful. All right. So can you explain a little bit what we got here?
Absolutely. So these two pieces both launched yesterday morning. So these are very much hot off the press.
Okay.
And we actually launched them early specifically because of this tour to Canada.
Okay.
So there's no point coming here, meeting all the passionate collectors and not showing them the latest pieces.
Okay.
So this is from our Brunswick collection.
Okay.
It's a cushion case, which is similar to a cushion case we did in 1924.
Okay.
And these are the latest ones to join the collection. So the one you're holding now is our jumping hour with a coral lacquer dial. And the movement inside it is from our good friends at Christopher Ward.
Oh, wow.
So
we are in alliance together.
That's cool. I love that. And I already feel the eye and the pressure over my shoulder. So I think if you don't mind, I'm going to pass to the watch aficionados because I feel like he's... So, okay, perfect.
And then the second piece, we call this one the Brunswick Orchid. So this is a two-piece mother of pearl dial. And I think what was quite nice about yesterday's launch is we're showing two watches, very, very different, but both unmistakably Fears and part of our DNA.
Okay.
Our tagline is elegantly understated.
Yeah.
And so even a bright coral dial jump hour, it's still about the elegance, the precaution, the craftsmanship. And it's the way that when you look at it, it feels quite calming.
Okay.
That's important.
So I have a question. And so as I started my journey as an entrepreneur and having my business 3 years ago, and very often I get asked, okay, give me your elevator pitch. So will you give me, I don't know anything about the brand. Give me the 20 seconds or 30 seconds of, introduce me to the
well, I'll start with the 5 seconds and then we'll see if you want to go from there.
All right, let's do it.
So the 5 seconds is simply, we're one of Britain's oldest and youngest watch companies.
Okay.
So that's the expression most people give. So
like
then you
that.
go on to the next bit and go, so originally founded in 1846, closed in 1976 after 3 generations of the Fear family ran the company.
Yeah.
I restarted the company 8 years ago, but my link to it is I'm the great-great-great-grandson of Edwin Fear, who was the original founder.
Oh, wow.
So very old and new, but still family run and within the same founding family. Beautiful. So that's pretty much the elevator pitch. That's that covers the kind of bit of the background. In terms of what we do today, we hand build our watches in England.
Okay.
So we're not a huge watch company, but we are a British luxury watch company.
Yeah.
And we're unashamedly about that. We very much work with precious materials, a lot of hand finishing. And then for us, it's about creating a few beautiful watches that people absolutely adore. And we don't try to reference too much of the archive. We have an incredible archive, but we are a luxury watch company with heritage rather than being a heritage watch company.
Okay.
It's strange. A lot of my colleagues back in Bristol look at me when I say that and go, are you just having a dyslexic moment? Have you just got your words muddled up? And I'm like, no, it's a very important thing. I try to imagine if the company hadn't closed, what would it be making today?
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be vintage inspired pieces. That would be modern watches with a very British flair. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's a very important thing about what we do.
Cool. Okay, beautiful. Do you have any other model that you want to show quickly before we go with another brand?
Yeah, I think it would be good to also show, let me show you this one. So this is from our Redcliffe collection. Okay.
Why don't you, why don't we put few of here, because on the camera we can see few, so everybody's watching can Beautiful. Look at that.
So the naming of our collection, though we have a founding date of 1846, we don't have it anywhere on the watch at all.
Okay.
So what we do is little subtle references. So our watch collections are called Redcliffe, after Redcliffe Street in Bristol, where the company was founded. Brunswick Square was where they had their large export division. So that's where the watches were being sent out from in the 1920s and 30s to Canada.
Okay.
And so it's all those subtle references. But I think what's quite nice about the pieces you have here is it shows the diversity and yet the unmistakable Fears DNA, that elegance, that understatement, the refinement and sophistication. We don't make any dive watches. That's a simple reason: I can't swim. So one day if I learn swim, we might make a dive watch. But historically, Fears always made very understated, solid, everyday watches. And so that's what I do today with the company.
All right, beautiful. Listen, they're honestly beautiful. It is the first time that I see them myself. And so, yeah, I really like the shape.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have a question. On the the back, the clasp, there's an engraving. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yes, absolutely. So inside all of our clasps, we have the flower of Bristol, which is for our home city. It's their kind of sacred flower. And I like there being certain Easter eggs on the watch that only the owner gets to enjoy. So when you're wearing it, when you're putting it on the wrist, you get to see it every day and appreciate it. And so we thought we could just engrave it, but in the end decided to engrave it and then fill it with cold enamel. So it will be there for the next 50, 60, 100 years.
Like you mentioned before about adding a little details instead of direct
exactly
imprints.
I think it's we're in a very fortunate position. We have great heritage, we have our links with Bristol. There's so much that we could do, but I think actually it's more powerful when you take a step back and you stop yourself. Growing up, I was a huge fan of Coco Chanel, and when reading any biography of her, there's always one quote that stands out to me, which is, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and remove one accessory. And I'm a strong believer in that. And I think that's a very British trait of going, let's not gild the lily. We don't need to overdo it. We only recently introduced open case backs to our watches. We've been decorating our movements for the last 8 years, decorating our rotors. We do a very beautiful finish, and then we hide it behind a closed case back, painting behind the radiators, if it were. But it's that idea. It's a very solid watch, but it doesn't need to shout about what it does. There's simple things like when you look at our water resistance, we start at 100 meters, but we always test double. So if it says 150 meters, it's 300 testing, and it's over-engineered. It doesn't look like a sports watch, but it's solid. It Think like a 1980s Mercedes-Benz. It's built like a tank, but doesn't look like a tank.
No, it just does what it's supposed to do.
That's it. It's old school luxury. Old school luxury, in my eyes, is about luxury. It's about the quality of materials, the way it's built, the serviceability, more than just a fancy price tag and features.
Utilitarian, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, listen, amazing. And I can't wait to see the whole collection this weekend. All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, let me put it back.
That was brilliant to hear. I'd not heard that whole. That's lovely.
I'm done.
Yeah. Sign me up. Sign me up.
I have an idea. All right. Idea? Beautiful.
Thank you.
So feel free. I can put them here if you want, and you can slowly introduce them. Beautiful. Thank you. Ooh, yes. I saw this one. I posted a picture on this one.
Yeah, I tried to select one of each our core ranges.
Yeah.
Don't know if so Studio Underd0g, it's a direct-to-consumer brand which was started in 2021 by Richard. Richard is enjoying his honeymoon, so he just got married last weekend.
Wow, very fresh.
So that's why I'm sold on this trip. But I'm very, very proud representing Studio Underd0g. It's a studio basically in itself. It started in a room. Richard is a product designer, and he wanted to give something different to the industry, in a sense that he wanted to have a watch that had character, was playful, vibrant. We know that our dials are vibrant and colorful, but he also wanted to still, make the product solid, valid. The caliber is very important to us. We want a product that people use every day, are happy to use, also proud to own. So that's I think what's make Studio Underd0g a valuable brand. We are micro brands, but it's been growing since 2021. I'm the first employee. I started as a community and operation executive, and I'm now helping the operation sector and also the events. So it's very exciting. It's been a great year and a half for me. I'm pleased to say that the team is growing as well. We have other 3 amazing people that have joined so far. We're very, very excited to be here in Toronto right now, but to be in general in Canada, because US and Canada are big markets for us.
Okay.
So I try to, show you 3 pieces.
Okay.
So one you can probably figure out is a watermelon. It's a 01 series.
Really? Okay.
Everyone probably recognize the seeds on the hour marks for obvious reason. It's a watch that has an ST 1901 movement, so it's a seagull movement, which is a movement which was designed by the Swiss in the 1940s, but then it was obviously handled by the Chinese in the 60s, and it's just an amazing movement just to watch. That's why we have an open case back in the back. But again, it's a chronograph, so it's playful. You can stop, reset, and stop, start, and reset the chrono on it. And we have the beautiful strap. They're supplied by the Strap Tailor in UK. So we are a British brand, and we assemble all our watches in Reading, which is still something that we're proud of. So we support the British manufacturers and the British logistic people that are working with us. Horology is our assembly team that is based in Pangbourne in Reading. So yeah, we're very, very, very proud of that. This piece that you have in your hand is the one I was wearing today.
Okay.
It's a part of our O2 series. It's a field watch. You can see that the case back is actually closed and has a funny jellyfish engraved on it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
So this is again like a fun project that Richard wanted to work on and launch a different product. In comparison to the 01 series, the O2 series is actually something that he wanted to detach and just like present a different product to everyone without being associated all the time with a brand that is, I don't know, just about colors or about food or, he wanted to attempt a different line. And I think he did really well. Obviously the DNA is still very visible on the dial. The Fume dial in orange and pink is unbelievable. But this one is actually really great. If you put UV lights on it, the dial itself brighten up.
Okay.
It has actually a sandwich dial.
That's my next
7
purchase. I need to buy you like that.
I forgot mine.
Obviously, never get out without, right?
This is why you bring me out.
That's exactly why. And the haircut.
But yeah, so it's an amazing dial at night. You can play with it. It is a full lume dial, and the strap is a suede strap in beige on that one. And then the last one on the list, I wanted to pick obviously the Salmon 03 series because it's the newest introduction to our core range. We just launched it on the 15th of September, so it's very, very recent. And as you can see on the upper dial, you can see this shimmering salmon skin texture that comes through when you look really carefully. And obviously I love that the way we're displaying this watch because we have a we have a tray with some fake eyes, and it pops out really the semantic reference that we try to represent with this watch. But the main feature obviously is a monopusher chronograph with a Sellita movement, SW510. So power reserve on this piece is 63 hours, and yeah, we are very, very happy that we finally have been able to, present this watch finally that we've been working on quite hard on.
So I'm already sad because I already know that I'm going to spend some money this weekend because there's a shape that I love that I don't have, and there's a color that I don't have. I'm like, oh,
no apologies on this table.
What's next? What's next? The good thing is I know people. Yes. Cool. Perfect. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Ayla. It's beautiful. I love them. I love the colorful.
I've got quite a few.
Yes,
I'll be
please.
brief, I promise, Nicholas. Here you go. So the majority of what we make is in steel, but I've brought you 4 out of the 5 there in titanium just to make it fun. If you want to start on that right side, that's our new Trident GMT Pro 300. We've had the Trident GMT range within Christopher Ward for years and years. But I think when you look at this particular model, we do it in 3 different colors. If you look at the case on the side profile, you will see what we will call light catcher. Light catcher basically is, instead of just having a block of steel, we brush and polish it in 5 to 6 different ways, and that gives that side profile a little bit more depth. That model, though, I think shows our evolution and maturation, which is what I keep talking about, because that model has always been thick, big, heavy, meant to be kind of robust and sporty, but now the slimness of not only the case, but the bezel or the refinement of the dial has given us over 20 years that little bit more gravitas. Over the last 20 years, we've definitely grown to what you see in front of you right now, to know what our DNA is. I mean, we did an event in San Francisco at the start of the year, and the back wall showed just about every family that we've done. It was close to 300 models.
Wow.
And some of them are not for everybody, but what we've done in those 20 years is get to a point where a lot of what you see on that table is probably the best of us. And that's the SW330 movement. But because we sell quite uniquely, we do not sell in retail. That's around just $1,380 US, which is just fantastic. Okay. The one that you've got in your hand there is a model called the 12. It comes in 2 materials, titanium and steel, in 40, 38, and 36 millimeters. That one right there, especially the dial, it just kind of captures everybody's attention. Blue, purple, or green, but it's our logo, our twin flags logo that represent England and Switzerland repeated over time. But the 12, the name of it is because of the bezel. The way that those 12 edges around the dial are brushed and polished gives it a whole new look, and that integration in terms of the bracelet, especially for less than $2,000, really just kind of shows what we do in terms of the gravitas again of the collection, but at a price point which is approachable for everybody. And that's always going to be the goal for Mike France and Peter Ellis and the rest of the Christopher Ward team. The watch next to it, though, is a little bit of a celebratory piece. That is our own in-house caliber. That is the SH21. It's a 5-day double barrel power reserve. And we did this particular watch and that movement in that 12 case to celebrate 10 years of having that movement. We were the first British brand in 50 years to own our own caliber, our own movement. And so after a few different limited editions, that watch came out and really showed what we can do inside the watch, as well as the beauty on the outside. That's limited quantity. It's been a bit of a smash for us. And again, I'll do this in US prices, but it's 48.65, around just under 6,000 Canadian. Okay. But for that type of watch, that type of movement in grade 2 and grade 5 titanium, it's just a bit of a beast. It's got a really cool micro adjust in a butterfly clasp as well. So engineered fantastically all around the watch. The one that you see right there was the game changer. That is an hour chime. It's called the Bel Canto. We did a dark blue and a dark green. That was 2 years worth of stock, and we sold them in 2 days. We hadn't built a watch, and that was just over 2 years ago. And so what you find there is the evolution of now the colors that we offer to everybody. We've got purple, which is very vibrant. We've got black, we've got rosa, and we have a lovely baby blue. At one point, the popularity of that model gave a wait list of about 18 months. It was really tough. But what that meant was we had to grow up as a brand. Supply chain had to be a massive thing. I think all of the brands that you'll find at this particular event tonight and what you'll find at Toronto Timepiece show, supply chain is always going to be the biggest hurdle that we face. But when we did that, we had to grow massively, because it didn't only grow us in terms of the brand that we were, it also put a lot of eyes on us from people who would never go to $1,000, $1,500 average price point. We did a chiming watch, an hour chime, for over $4,000 US, and we had people who would buy Jean, MB&F. We had collectors in mainland Europe, Asia, the Middle East, big players in America and Canada that finally said, wow, how do you do this, and what else have you got? So it grew us to a point where we had a lot more eyeballs, and we had a lot more, I would say pressure, but we definitely put it upon ourselves to be better. And that's kind of how we've grown today. So the Bel Canto, alongside the 12X, are very much the best of us. That's a Solita base with our own module, whereas the SH21 is our own movement. Okay. And then when you get to the watch in your hand there, that is now part of, again, the growth within the Trident range. That's our Lumiere. That is a 10.85 millimeter grade 2 titanium diving watch with an SW300 movement. Ceramic bezel, stippled dial, so really detailed, which is very hard to see in any environment unless you've got it on your wrist or you're very personal to it. But the numerals, the hands, the indices around the bezel are all made of Globalite. And so it is a block of Globalite loom, which is the big brother of Superluminova, which has been cut and placed on a way which is just incredible under black light. And that's what we're going to be showing in Toronto this weekend, what we'll show tonight. But then when you start to go and branch out into the rest of the collection, we've got literally dozens and dozens of colors and options of styles. We definitely don't say that our watches are male or female. We do different sizes depending on your taste. I think that's really important for us. And what you'll also see, maybe compared to what maybe you've seen in the past, is knowing our own style. And I say that with respect to what's come before. We definitely had some scratches that needed to be itched within our collection that kind of satisfied people looking to grow up in their collection. And they wanted to kind of have that price point jump. But now we've got our own style. We've got our own Englishness within a Swiss frame. So that's a really good example of what we've got in terms of our entry price point, or our approachable price point, to the very best of us mechanically.
So I learned today about a lot, but I like the little detail about the Swiss and the British flag.
Yeah, well, we've got three founders. We've got Mike France, Peter Ellis, and Chris Ward. Chris Ward is no longer with the brand, but Mike and Peter, they always say that Chris had the most English name. And because of that particular wording itself, it was always, I wouldn't say contentious, but it was in that world of how do you fit a name which is quite long on a dial which is quite small. And so we've had a few different variations, and symmetry is a big thing as well for people when they're looking at watches. So what we started to develop quite a few years ago was this twin flag. English and Swiss together, starting on the case back and the crown, and now it's very much who we are.
And it's cool detail. It's cool detail.
Thank you.
First thing first, thank you.
That was a lot in a short amount of time. I'm sorry.
It is, but you know what? We have the next 4 days. We have the next 3 days of spending time together. So we'll go around and to be honest, for me, I'm very excited to finally have a show in Toronto, to finally have a show in Canada. And really bringing, you know, something that, and obviously maybe you hear from my accent, but I'm also European, from across the, you know, on the other side of the water, I guess, the pond, you know.
We just launched a watch today with a Parisian, Seconde de Seconde.
So, okay.
So we're native.
That's okay, but, you know, 18 years in Canada, so proud Canadian, you know. But yeah, something that it's, and the States is a little bit different, the United States is a little bit different, but in Canada, it's true that in Europe, you see a lot of stores with beautiful mainstream brands, and then close to it you have micro brands and smaller brands. You will see that a lot in Europe, and something that you see it a little bit in the States, in the United States, but in Canada it's still not there yet. And obviously this show will be, and I don't know if you would tell me you know, if hopefully I'm not wrong. I see your head, but that's something that I really love about this show, is that basically bringing new brands and brands that people are not aware of, and for you to spread the love.
Well, this is why being here with Adam and Kathleen from Redbar Crew is important. Please jump in, Adam. But the community, they have to trust us. Tactility is massive, and if you don't mind, that's what Redbar does.
There you go. But you know what? It's funny that you said that, because that was my next question. Because obviously, big fan. Obviously, being a Redbar member for many years. Something that I also want to say is a little shout out to Mark, which is Redbar, you know, organizer in Toronto here, because he was not able to be here, but you know, I know that he's sweating Redbar, and I know that every month is there. You know, it's my personal experience. You know, I love the guy. So shout out to him. But yeah, I just wanted to come by and quickly because we actually met one time in New York, long time ago, when I was with my Hamilton hat.
I remember.
Oh, you did, perfect. Different haircut, pre-COVID haircut, with hair. But something that I want.
Good beard though. Good beard.
Sorry.
Nice beard.
Yeah, thank you. But you know what? To be honest, my wife wanted. She was like, okay, it's all right. She wanted a new husband. So I was like, okay, I don't want to divorce. I still love you. So let me shave my head.
Keep it interesting.
Surprise. No, but something that I always wanted to ask you is, and because I read and obviously I'll follow you a little bit, but how was your wow moment or your eureka moment saying, you know what, let's do something, create a community that people get together and enjoy watches?
Yeah, that's actually an excellent question, because when I tell the story of how Redbar began, it's really organic. There was no intention, I think, to grow it into what it has become. It was really, I met a fellow collector in New York City. It's where I'm based, born and raised. And, there weren't a lot of in-person gatherings. In fact, there really wasn't anything regular. And everything was online. And so when I met this one person, I thought, hey, you're cool, I'm cool. What if we hang out like once a month and we can talk about watches? And I think anybody watching this, and I know everybody here, when somebody who's not a huge collector aficionado just says, oh, that's a nice watch, can I see that? Well, what is that? Mm-hmm. And you start to give them the rundown.
Yeah.
You see the eyes glaze over and they're kind of like, oh, okay, well, let me get out of here. And so here was somebody I could talk to.
Yeah.
And so the two of us became 3, became 5, became 10. Now we're meeting every 2 weeks instead of once a month. And it just took off. Uh-huh. And it got to a point, though, where after like social media, we kind of predate some of that stuff, that other people were seeing what we were doing and saying, hey, that's so great. Mm-hmm. I wait, every week to see the pictures you guys put up, but we don't have that where we are. How can I get that started? And I was like, well, I don't know. I find a bar, find some people to hang out with, hey. And so it took off. Mm-hmm. But then what was happening is people were starting these groups and then coming back to me and saying, do you mind if we call it Redbar? So, we got Redbar Chicago by that. And I think Toronto was pretty much the same as one of our first satellite chapters.
Beautiful, okay.
And then, an oldest. And so it finally got to a point where, Kathleen became involved with the company. And, it wasn't a company. And that's when we created a company to catch control.
Yeah.
And to kind of corral it a little bit and then help it grow in a more organized fashion. But I think that what speaks to the success of Redbar is that it really started from a true, place of love.
Yeah.
Of just, there was no intention to do anything beyond get people together and have a good time over a shared interest.
Yeah.
And so what I think is great is now we have about 85 chapters around the world, on every continent except for Antarctica, which we're working on.
Wow.
I'll go for you.
Yeah, we got to get Redbar Antarctica.
I would love to do it.
Anybody watching this, if you know somebody at McMurdo, all we need is for them to have one watch and just hold up a sign. And then, for me, I'm then I can die happy. But among all the chapters, the common thread though is to make it fun. Yeah. If you're not having fun in this hobby, why are you doing it? We're spending too much money on things we do not need. So make it fun, make it inclusive. It was really started as a response to some of these clubbier groups, shall we say. Everybody's welcome. We've had, sometimes people sit on the table and we've got a Longa, data graph, and we've got a Swatch and we've got a G-Shock.
Yeah.
And then there's an IWC Perpetual in the corner. Yeah. And everybody's happy to see everything.
Yeah.
And so I've really been proud of how each chapter has managed to carry that over, that ethos, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I will say, since we are here in Toronto, it's great for me to be back. I've had the good fortune to hang with you guys a couple of times in the past, although I have not been here since before COVID as well. So it's an honor to be back. And again, one of our oldest chapters, so it makes me happy.
Amazing. Yeah, no, honestly, it's just very inspiring. And something that I love is that something personally that I always say is that I please, hopefully not in the future, but I never like to say I'm an expert in something. I always believe that there's always somebody that knows more about a topic than you are. And I feel like I'm a sponge. I'm always learning. And that's also why I love having you guys together and having different brands, because obviously I understand, and I was in your shoes. When you are in your brand, obviously you you know you sleeping your brand, and you can pitch your brand and things like that. But talking with other people, other brands, get inspired, get talking to each other. Sure, obviously, I don't know how the relationship, and that might be my next question, but how you use their movement, that's something that is very inspiring, right? So please.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very interesting thing that happened during COVID.
Yeah.
And that was the creation and launching of the Alliance of British Watch and Clockmakers.
Okay.
And this was something that the initial idea came out between a conversation between Mike France from Christopher Ward and Roger Smith from R.W. Smith. And I was very lucky to be asked to be one of the founding members. And the 5 brands came together and we said, right, what if we create an alliance, like a trade body, where we actually bring different brands who normally would think of each other as competitors and bring them together and say, well, actually, how can you help each other? And this seems like a very simple idea, but it's one thing bringing collectors together, but when you're bringing brands together and putting them in a room, and no one wants to show first, right? No one wants to reveal how bad a supplier is or how awful the economy is or anything like that. But what the Alliance has done is actually brought brands together to open up, to support each other, to help. And then it's also meant that when a new brand starts, as like Fears was 8 years ago, 1 person, we're now 10 people.
Yeah.
But it means that when there's a new brand starting, once they've been trading for a year, they can join the Alliance. And then they have access to people like myself who supposedly know what I'm doing. And the idea is that they can then just pick up the phone and ask questions, and we can help them, because what we want is to see all the brands in Britain grow and thrive.
Yeah.
Because if you think of it this way, I'm not saying I have nothing against Swiss watches, but Britain had such an incredible watchmaking heritage, and when you look at the brands today. Okay, fine, Fears has heritage, but we're effectively a new brand. But when you look at what the brand's doing today, the 3 people here this evening, Christopher Ward, Studio Underd0g, Fears, we're all doing something very different, but we're doing it with passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about modern British watchmaking, is the diversity in there. There's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's something that you don't really see in other countries.
Okay.
And it's great to do it. And it then means when we come away together, we're Brits.
Yeah,
we want to go out to the pub afterwards.
For sure. And something that is in the same topic. A few years ago, I was talking to a gentleman, and he was doing an interview. And at the time, I was not the person asking the questions. And then the journalist was asking a question to this person that was with a brand, but he's no longer with this brand now. But basically, the question is, okay, same. It's like, your brand and competition and, and other things. And he basically said, listen, in the end of the day, we're on the same boat. We want people to fall in love with watches. And basically, his answer, which I love, was, for me, the first watch is like your first chocolate. You get a chocolate, you get addicted to it, and then you want the next one. You cannot stop, So I was like, oh, I love chocolate, I love watches. It's kind of like,
This whole tour that we're doing right now, there's going to be brew coming as well, and we've done events with Formex in the past as well. We can all get along, and when you come in as a Redbar member or you come to the Toronto Timepiece show, you're not just going to stand at one booth. Our job is to make sure that you have a great time. And when if someone buys a Fears or a Studio Underd0g over a Christopher Ward or vice versa, it doesn't matter. They're in now. Like you said, that box of chocolate or that chocolate is now in. As long as you have a good experience with everybody. I think we can always tell when there's angst in the room, and it's never a nice place to be. What we're doing is make sure, yes, we have a drink together, we share our food together, but sharing ideas and making sure that we can all grow together. That's the goal of the brand.
And something for me also is that and something that I try to spread is not just about the timepiece, is the story behind. Like, for example, I have a personal story that COVID hit, I decided to go back to school, working from home. So I went back and I did. And then when I graduated, I got myself a nice piece, but technically it's a lease I consider it as a lease because it will be my son when he one day graduate. Okay, he's 9 years old, so he still have a little time. But exactly, I trust me. My daughter is 3 and
lose a couple of watches. So.
yeah. Okay, already. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. Is that I really love this story behind and all the watch that I have, and I believe most of the watch collectors or aficionados they all will have remember a little story about that particular timepiece. Oh, yeah. So that's something that I really love. Is one of the only objects that actually you can transport and you can go, going to see my dad in 2 weeks or whatever, and that I can wear a watch that he offered me when I was, 20 years old or whatever it is, right? So
my kids know which watch I was wearing when they were born.
Yeah.
They know the watch I was wearing when I was married.
Okay.
And they'll always say, that's daddy's most special watches.
Very
Doesn't matter the prices or whatever they are.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
we've all got those types of watches.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it can be one of the watches here or whichever one you choose. So.
All right. Beautiful. So listen, anybody of you have any question from each other or any, let's take the moment, please.
Ooh, Nicholas.
Oh. I like it.
I'm in the hot
Open mic.
seat, yeah.
Open mic.
Adam.
Oh.
That's
That's not what I was expecting.
Which is your favorite watch on the no, not gonna say.
Who's giving the bigger envelope?
Well, no, I want to speak to one thing about this, though, if I may. Is and you touched on this in terms of the formation of the Watchmakers Alliance, but it was perfectly demonstrated by last night, and I know tonight as well in the show, that we have 3 British watch brands, none of which actually step on each other's toes in the sense that the design, the DNA, the focus is very different. If you own one watch from each of these brands, there's no overlap. Mm-hmm. But yet the quality is there, the connection is there, and each one of them couldn't be more quintessentially British. And so to see the British watchmaking, that's what I love about this little mini tour we've done, is to really see what's happening with British horology right now. Mm-hmm. As Nicholas pointed out, Great Britain is really sort of the seat of watchmaking and innovative clockmaking, watchmaking, accuracy, all of that. Yeah. And there are various reasons, political and otherwise, as to how Switzerland sort of became the de facto standard. But to see Britain sort of reasserting itself now, mm-hmm. and just, on whatever level that through Redbar we can support that, mm-hmm. It just makes me really happy to see it happen.
Okay.
And to see each of these companies, as young as they are, doing so well, yeah, and being so well received by collectors is also a reflection of the integrity of each of these brands and the lack of cynicism, I think, that comes. A lot of the times when you're collecting watches, sometimes you have to hold your nose a little bit, because you want the watch for whatever reason, but there's a sense that this brand is laughing at me behind my back. On some level, I'm the sap here. I'm getting taken advantage of, but I'm happy to do it. Fine, I want the watch. But I think anybody who owns a Fears, who owns a Studio Underdog, who owns a Christopher Ward, feels respected in a sense. Mm-hmm. They know the brand appreciates their patronage, and it's a two-way street. And that's demonstrated just by the people sitting here tonight, each of whom I would consider a friend and hang out with after the facts.
Yeah.
But what brought us together, the reason we are sitting here, are these fantastic pieces, each of which tells a story.
Okay.
So yeah, I just had to throw that in there.
It's lovely.
Do not say anything to embarrass me now.
Not right now, no, later.
No, that comes later.
Just a little comment, and I apologize if I didn't know, but there's Josh that's wishing you happy birthday.
Oh. Yeah, today's my birthday.
Shots tonight.
Okay.
Fireball.
No chance.
I might be the only one, but that's something that I do in my family. Happy birthday
to
you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam.
Founder of Redbar.
Happy birthday to you. Woo!
Guys, thank you.
No worries.
21 again.
And now we have.
Yes.
And now, how's I do with my kid? Are you one? No, I'm joking.
We'll be here a while.
Now listen. Questions? Anybody? No, you good? Oh, you have one question. Okay, perfect.
I have a question for all of you, since you're all British watchmakers. It's been a long way since I'm talking about post quartz crisis. Like George Daniels kind of been holding everything down himself, preserving traditional watchmaking. Now, with brands like yourselves, where do you see like British watchmaking, like the trajectory is going? Like,
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because, you know, in the last 8 years, I've seen one question at every show, event, podcast, media interview that used to get asked all the time and now doesn't. And that was, when you're going to have your own in-house movement. That was, you know, back in 2016, 17, that's what everyone was asking. Everyone was obsessed about it.
True.
And I always gave the same answer that I give today when occasionally someone asks. And I'll circle back round to why I think why the number of times that question gets asked changes. Simply put, for a brand like Fears, you know, even if I sold 100% of the business, the person who had bought it would still need to invest probably double, triple the amount of money to develop an in-house movement. It's not realistic for a company like us at our stage. The reason I think the question doesn't get asked quite as much is because people do admire an in-house movement. I mean, Mike, the SH21, it is a cracking movement. I remember 10 years ago when that came out, it took everyone by storm. Like, you know, how did this, not a small, but, you know, a relatively young British watch company suddenly have its own movement? But that's I would say an anomaly to where the industry in Britain should be focusing, because the fact is, what we do superbly in Britain is work with a case maker here, a dial maker here, a movement maker here. Britain is one of the leading countries in the world for project management. That's not particularly sexy, but it's vital when running a watch company. You know, when you're working, you know, if we look at the Fears watches in front of me, each watch, I'm working with about 20 different suppliers to make that watch come into creation.
Okay.
So that's complex enough, working with some of the best suppliers in those respective fields. And I think nowadays people are going, actually, I want to know that the watch is made well and that I can get it serviced by my local watchmaker down the road. And that becomes very difficult unless you're at a scale where you're making a good number of your own movements.
right.
So I don't think the future, and I don't think what you'll see in the next decade, 2-3 decades in Britain is going to be watch movement manufacture. I'd like to see case manufacture. We used to have our cases made in Britain. We stopped. We moved it to Germany. Then we stopped. We moved it to China. And there's a reason, because we want to improve the quality. And sadly, you know, unless you're making a handful of cases in the UK, quality just isn't there. And look, I'm not trying to sound down on my fellow country people. I'm very proud to be British, you know. But at the same time, I also don't think that you should put out an inferior product. Like, I want to make the best product I can. But, and this comes back to the alliance, I can see in 10, 15, 20 years' time, enough alliance members coming together going, right, we can all start investing in a case maker together, effectively, you know, crowdfunding it from the brands.
Right.
That's something that can happen.
Yeah.
Now, we all have to grow to get to a stage where we can afford to do that. That won't just happen. No one in Britain is going to just wake up one day and say, I'm going to take a punt on the British watch industry.
All right.
But let's see in the future.
Cool. Okay. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, this is a great question. Well, I would not be able to ask this question. It's beautiful. I love it. That's why you're here. That's why we are watch aficionados, you know? Perfect. I'm the story guy. He's the technical guy. It's perfect. So I know everybody has to organize and set up and be ready for the event. But last question that I have, obviously, coming back to Canada, we're here in Canada. What is the vision for the brands, respective brands, in like few short 1-minute answer? Basically, where do you see the brand grow and how you want to do it in Canada? Ida.
Yeah, of course. So as I said initially, we have an amazing community coming from Canada. So we are honored to be here, finally showing our products. People taking and touching them is a different experience than just like obviously watching through a video or a camera. So this is what we're planning to do, coming often as much as we can, attending as many shows as we can. So we will be very, very happy if in the next few years we will have like a showroom here and there. But as I said, and as also Nicola said, it's a slow progress, and we are doing our best to make it happen. So who knows? Maybe we will have a showroom.
Beautiful. All right, get inspired. I follow and I saw the beautiful showroom that you guys opened in Dallas. Ooh,
thank you. That's number one. That's the first one.
I love it. It looks
but we
nice.
still ship watches from there. We don't give you a bag with a watch within it. It's still got to keep within the business model.
Oh, okay.
We call it the power of 3. So whatever it costs us to build the watch, we increase that by 3. That's the retail price.
Okay.
The tough thing with Canada is Canadian customs aren't easy but what I'm trying to do when we're doing these events, when we're talking to people one-on-one, if we were distributing within Canada, that would already be built into a retail price. My job, and I think all of our jobs, is to make sure people feel there's value within the product. If you touch a Studio Underd0g or Fears or with Christopher Ward, it jumps off the page. It's not an Instagram story anymore. You can feel the quality of the movement, the finishing of the case. That is what I want this particular thing to do, as in this trip. And we already know that next April we'll be in BC, we'll be in Vancouver, and that tour will then continue into Calgary and Ottawa and across the entire country, which you guys have a massive country, so bear with us. What I also think, which is probably my biggest thing, is that Nicholas is an owner and Ida's coming in as a growing part of the company. I'm the first person in North America. We've just employed our second person.
Wow.
So we are, yes, a big company in terms of in England and in Switzerland. Here, we're baby. It might be the biggest part of our business monetarily, but we've got to grow as a company in a personnel way. So the more people have questions for us and trust individuals, I think that's my aim and goal. That
and
they trust
you've been very active as well, because I see every weekend you're hanging out with
I've got a
people
really trusting, loving, patient wife.
Yes, I know. I got that.
The game isn't easy when you're on the road, but especially this first year of my kind of caretakership with this part of Christopher Ward. It's really important that we do it. Tactility is key.
Okay, 100%.
And so for Fears, I mean, this is our first trip. We're going to be in Vancouver next year. I think there will easily be 1, probably 2, maybe 3 trips every year where Fears is coming over.
Okay.
But also, as a company, we have our own boutique in Bristol. We then also retail online. But a big part of our business is also via retailers.
Okay.
And so, I've been very much told by my head of commercial department, start looking out some retailers in the cities you're here, because, next year, they're who we want to be approaching. So that, Fears is in the boutique, is in, the display case, so people can go in and see it without having to be constrained by only coming to one evening. For me, it's about removing all the pressure. And if we're in a retailer, it's a beautiful environment where, Fears can be enjoyed and purchased from.
So I don't know if you know, but Watch DNA motto is connecting watch aficionados with retailers and dealers. So but that's the idea. Okay, perfect. Listen, thank you so much, and I'm excited to spend the evening and the next few days. Thank you, Adam, and thank you everybody for being here. And really appreciate you being here. And just latest thing, everybody on the top left, you have a QR code. This is basically to go send you on the page with all the information, the links, and everything for the web for all the brands. So. And don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.